Hello and welcome to Whisky Resource. My name is Mark. This is review number 39 and today's review is going to come from a question posed by Roger Lynn on YouTube. He asked if I was going to be reviewing the Kilkerran 12-year-old at any point, and I actually happen to have a bottle of Kilkerran 12. I've had it for a short while, I've not opened it, so I think tonight is the night I'm going to open it. So Roger, this one is after your suggestion. So feel free, people, if you want to suggest whiskies. If I've got them, I'll give them a go. If I don't have them, then I'm sure at some point I'll be reviewing them anyway. So this I purchased online a while ago, I think. It was on special offer. I bought it from, if I remember rightly, a website, Cigars online, specialise in cigars, but they also sell a series of whiskies. So I picked this up, and I also picked up this 200ml bottle of Kalila 12, and I also picked up a bottle of the Lafroig 10 cask strength from March 2019, which is unopened. At some point I will be opening it and I'll be doing a review. The way I see it is I might as well review these things as a first pour, so that the experience is as real as possible, because you know, if I don't like a whiskey, then you're going to tell straight away by my taste. In some cases you can tell straight away if I'm going to like them, but we'll get this cracked open. So that's that done. So Kilkerran, it's a Campbeltown whisky. It's from one of the 3 distilleries that you'll actually find in the town of Campbeltown. So I have reviewed the Glen Scotia double cask, and I've also just a couple of Fridays ago reviewed the Glen Scotia 2020 Malts Festival release, which is the Tawny Port. I've also reviewed the Springbank 10 a little while ago. So all those I'll pop at the end of the video, so you can have a look at those. So there's 3 distilleries in Campbeltown are Glen Scotia, which is owned by the Loch Lomond Group, also owned the Loch Lomond Distillery. Then you've got Kilkerran, which is owned by the same company that own the Springbank Distillery. So the Kilkerran Distillery is called Glengyle, and then the Springbank Distillery, they've got 3 different whiskies that they make, which are the Long Row, the Springbank, and I always forget the third one. The Long Row, the Springbank, and nope, it's gone. I can't remember the third one. Nope, it's gone. I've never had it, unfortunately, the third one. It'll come to me. It'll pop into my head some point in the video. It is late. Anyway, Kilkerran. It's 12-year-old. It's 46% ABV. It's non-chill filtered. It's natural colour, which is the perfect combination. Bottled at 46% ABV with an average retail price of £37.20. It actually receives a really good score on my value score, which is, if you've been watching videos and know what they are, but for those that don't, what we do is we take a look at the average retail price, and that is based on online retail for a regular 700ml bottle. So I'll look at various online retailers, the big online retailers, typically the Whisky Exchange, Masters of Malt. There's various other ones, depend upon who has stock. I exclude Amazon from this because Amazon typically can sell things at a lower price than some of the other big online retailers. I stick to the kind of whisky specialists. So we'll look at the price of those and work out what an average is across those particular onlines. And then we look at the age of the whisky. We then look at the ABV, the chill filtration status, and whether it's natural colour. So those factors all get put into my kind of little equation, and it spits out a score out of 100 based on how well it scores against other whiskies. So in the case of the Kilkerran 12-year-old, it gets 96.90 out of 100. The maximum anything can receive is 100. Some whiskies got 99. If you have a look on my website, there are some whiskies that have scored really, really highly. There is a point at which a whiskey can become too expensive, and even if it hits the magic figures for ABV, chill filtration, and colour, there's a point where it can become too expensive that actually the score starts to drop. If a whiskey's really cheap and hits those magic numbers, then it'll get capped at 100. It can't go past 100, but potentially could, but forget that. But the thing is, you can take an 8-year-old whiskey, you can take a 25-year-old whiskey. If you apply the same formula, it all spits out a number, and invariably all those whiskies that are a lower ABV, chill filtered, and aren't natural colour, they all typically score at around 80, the low 80s to about 85, low to mid 80s. Those that may end up being a slightly higher ABV, typically 43, let's say, they tend to score between mid 80s to higher 80s. The low 90s typically would be either because they're a lower ABV or because they're actually higher ABV but they've been coloured, so they tend to be low 90s, high 80s, low 90s. And then if they hit all those magic markers, which I mentioned, then they become high 90s. So at a glance you can look at the score and see, yeah, that is offering everything that a good whiskey should have. It's not accounting for taste. Obviously the taste and the nose can be completely wrong, in which case it could get an overall score, which I'll give for the nose and palate. So you could have a fantastically whiskey on paper that actually isn't too good when it comes to tasting. So we'll give it a go. So yeah, it's owned by J&A Mitchell & Co, same company that owns Springbank. So they own two of the distilleries in the Campbeltown region. That it really in terms of the key stats of that particular whiskey. Alright, there's the maturation. So it takes a little bit of looking around to try and find specific information, but it is aged in a combination of bourbon and sherry casks, and then they're blended together. So it's 70% bourbon cask maturation and 30% sherry cask maturation gets into the blend of this Kilkerran 12-year-old. They don't say that on the label, but interestingly, they've mentioned Speyside on the label. I'm just going to quickly have a look at that. Oh, it's basically about the word Glen, and the fact that Glen tends to be associated more with Speyside, and it's to do with how this got its name of Kilkerran. So that's a close-up, and that's actually there's a wall with this kind of window that looks out onto this tower within the site of the distillery, I believe. Right, enough of chatting. Let's get on to this. Let's see what we're getting. I was previously writing all my notes down on paper beforehand, and I figured, well, actually, it's a waste of paper, and I'm trying to be more environmentally aware of things. So I've got rid of the plastic bottles, I've got rid of the paper. So if you do see me glancing over, I'm just reminding myself of some of the notes on the screen, because when you have a hectic life that I have, I often forget things. And I do waffle on an awful lot. We're 9 minutes in, I haven't even started tasting. So on the nose, immediately you get that distinctive Campbeltown sea spray malt maritime influence that is so prominent in whiskies from that region. It's sweet. It's slightly peaty. Tiny bit of vanilla there maybe. A bit of fruit. there's some citrus on the nose. It doesn't smell too hot. That 46% ABV is quite happily hiding itself on the palate. I was not expecting that. So there was an awful lot going on there. The first thing I got was a bit of peat tang, like citrus tang, but with peat running through it. And then I got a lot of wood. I'm not necessarily saying oak wood, but there was wood. It was nice and lovely, bitter, a bitter sweet wood note just kept on running through it. Similar to a damp wood, like if you've been working in a wood shop and there's been sawdust in the air, but it's also been a bit damp, so it's this damp sawdust. Vanilla definitely, and caramel. It's not overly sweet. That maritime influence, that distinct Campbeltown element, it's there, but it's not as prominent on the palate as I've experienced with the Glen Scotias. But the Glen Scotias I've had, they're typically a higher ABV, with the exception of the double cask. But this isn't quite as intense as that. It's a little bit more subtle. It's been taken down a notch. There's a bit of malt. A bit of malt going on there. The heat. The alcohol presents itself more on the finish. That woody sawdust bitterness. That's also citrusy. A tiny bit of creaminess going on there. But I've had a water it. So it's more salty now on the nose. It's more vanilla'd. I think that bourbon cask influence of 70% is starting to progress itself through a bit more now. Get more salt in the palate. That water's released a few of those Campbeltown notes. There's a bit more peat on the palate. Yeah, it's definitely saltier, definitely peatier, but more citrusy on the fruit. Lemons and a bit of orange maybe. It wasn't what I was expecting. When I was reading the reviews and some of the tasting notes, people were talking about marzipan and more richer fruits, cherries. I'm not getting those notes, but it is the first pour out of the bottle and it does need to allow breathe a bit, and obviously in these scenarios I'm not giving it the time to breathe in the glass and release some of the flavours that it's probably got hidden in there. but potentially with that 30% sherry influence, you may start to get some of those flavours as it sits in the glass and allows to oxidize, open, breathe. It surprised me actually how different it is to how I was expecting it. You build your mind up for one thing and you taste something slightly different. What I would say is it's definitely Campbeltown influence. So if you love the Campbeltownness of those whiskies, that fits distinctly into there, without a shadow of a doubt. Personally, I would like to see more sherry in there, and I know that quite often when they do the 8-year-old cask strength release, they do mix the cask influences quite a bit. I know they did a was it a sherry matured version at 57.1% ABV for the 8-year-old, which was a hit. I would love to have tried that, but unfortunately they sold out. I wasn't able to get hold of the bottle. But that's my preference style, sherried. But this is a lovely dram. It is really nice. In terms of who it's aimed for, well, it's an intermediate level whiskey. It's not for a beginner. I think the peat, the salt could potentially put off people who are new to Scotch. That's not everybody. There will be some beginners who would love it, but it's squarely probably more intermediate. I think it's a great progression step towards moving into the Islay, the likes of the Lafroig, the Ardbeg. Whilst it's not quite as intense as I say, as some of the Glen Scotias I've had in terms of its Campbeltownness, it does hit some of those markers. And I am stalling here to try and give a score worthy of it. I want to say 88. It's a dram I'm looking forward to returning to. I typically won't pour this again for another week. I'll wait. I'll give it another pour and just let the pour breathe before having it. So it'll be a week before I'll have another one. But I expect this is going to get better than in 88 if I return to it. But that's it, really. So Roger Lynn in 88. And if you enjoy Campbeltown whiskies, if you've had Springbank, the 10-year-old, and if you've had the I can only reference the Glen Scotia double cask because the Campbeltown Malt Festival editions are unique, really, then you're going to enjoy this. And if you like Lafroig, Talisker, yeah, you'll enjoy this one. So that's it, idiot. Thank you for watching. All later. Ta-da.